Hello and welcome to Dota 2 Weekly Update, Episode 11. My name is SUNSfan. Joining me as always is Reaves and Xenocide. We have not done this for quite a while, but how are you two doing?
Good.
Very good.
Very nice. All right, so today's patch, we're going to try to... I don't know if I want to speed through this, but there's not a whole lot to go over on the content for... Well, there's a new hero, which is Centaur, of course, which is huge because he's my favorite hero, and the best hero in the game, incidentally, as well. And then we'll briefly go over some changes in the balance from the 6.76. We're not going to go over... There's a lot of videos that go in depth. We will not be going in depth. But first, let us begin with Centaur and your thoughts on how he looks, feels, all that good stuff. And then, of course, I will go last because my opinion is most important. Reeves, start.
I don't know about the most important thing. You're just like head over heels for the hero.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan.
Head over hooves.
Head over hooves. Oh.
Speaking of that.
Thanks. Did you just give me a segue?
Yes, I did.
I'm not a huge fan of the model. It's okay. I'm just not head over hooves for it, as we said. As far as his spells and stuff, like we were talking a little bit, I hate that on Hoof Stomp, or is it Hoove? It's Hoof. Whatever. He doesn't actually stomp his hoof, which is frustrating. It's not really a stomp either. It's more of a pound.
He I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, he hits the ground with his giant staffy spear thing.
I almost feel like that was something where like the animators like made it all up without actually paying attention to the spell names at all, and they're like, yeah, it'll be awesome. He'll like pound the ground with his like axe thing, and they didn't realize it was actually called Hoof Stomp. Maybe they'll change it to Axe Smash. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and speaking of that, even like, oh, it is an axe, isn't it? When he does his double edge, his attack animation's weird. It looks like he's hitting him with the hilt of his axe and not like the tip of it. I don't know if that's supposed to be part of the skill. I haven't read it, but it looks like he's just kind of bashing him in the face with his stick.
Well, the whole point of the double edge thing, right, is a double-edged axe. Therefore, he's like damaging himself or hitting himself with one edge before doing more damage with the other edge. So I feel like it should be like some like big wind-up thing where he's like, I don't know. It just feels like a super boring, underwhelming animation in general. So I don't know what's up with that.
It just looks odd.
It needs to be about like 10 times more badass than it is right now. So if you can just add that in Valve, that'd be great.
What do you think about the return?
Returns is fine. I mean, it doesn't even have a huge animation on it.
It's got a little particle effect. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, just a little bit of a particle effect, which looks cool. It kind of looks like they light up...
I feel like it looks cool,
red.
like when you're watching it, but like when you're actually in any kind of team fight, that's just like something you would never really pay attention to.
Which is good.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, it's not super.
And then what about Stampede? Which we'll talk about this skill and what it does when we're going to the patch notes. How does it look?
I mean, like his other skill. I mean, it looks like a Stampede. It looks fine. I like that it affects every single hero and not just Centaur. Because that would have looked really odd, but it looks what I'd expect to see. I'm sorry. See, I can't separate the two, but I like the dusty particles that happen. There you go.
Yeah, it looks fine. It's evident. It's like a stampede. There's dust. I mean, that's probably... Of all of his effects, that would probably be the only one that really is all that evident, so it's good. I mean,
I'm happy they didn't go overboard with it, like have a bunch of, like do, Tinker's whole thing, but have it be like rhinos running across the screen or something.
Well, that would be awesome, though. So.
It would be kind of cool. Or hippos. Can we have them do that?
Oh, hippos are awesome. Yeah.
Are we that connected?
Deadliest animal on the land.
That's true. I tell everybody that.
Now, what if you're attacked by one in the water, though?
Not really sure, actually.
Well, they're still very dangerous. It's just
animal classification, or
the great white. Is it the white shark that or is the orca?
Orca.
I think it's the orca.
The orca is the most dangerous in water, but like in Africa, you're not going to find those. So hippo's still the most dangerous in water. It's just a beast. Anyway, back to the point. Since this is my favorite hero, I have to critique it, and typically, I don't really get too negative with like models, textures, stuff like that. But I feel like I have to be very in-depth about my opinion on Centaur because I've been waiting for him for over a year, and it literally has hurt me each week that he's not.
He will not shut up about it, guys. So
yeah,
this is great.
In fact, I might be streaming like non-stop, just me playing Centaur for the next week. Literally, I might be doing that. All right, so first of all, his model, the actual model itself, I think is great. I don't have a problem with it. The problem I have is the textures are very underwhelming. The color scheme is bland, very bland. Not a too big a fan of like the well, the Native American turquoise looking thing. I don't know.
Can't imagine
It's
why.
actually more of a New Mexican thing.
Well, whatever it is, I'm not a big fan. Like, I feel like they're starting to do this a little bit with some heroes where they make it less flashy, which is fine, but I think they went a little bit overboard on this guy. He needs to be. I mean, in Dota 1, he does look very generic, and that was one issue I had with him because he looked like a creep, actually, which was a big problem. But regardless, I think just a little bit more color on him would be good. Hoof Stomp, I'm one of the few people that don't care that he doesn't use his hoof. It could be called anal stomp, and he doesn't use his anus. That's fine. I don't really mind. But the problem I do have is there's no the particle effects when you actually stomp. They should be there for a little bit longer because you stun for at the lowest level 2 seconds. So I think there should be some effects to the ground during that 2 second period. I think that would make it look a lot better. Personally,
Sort of like rippling aftershock or something.
right. And actually, they had that. I was looking at Cyborg Matt's blog not too long ago, and they had effects like that. So either it happens so quickly that I literally can't see it, or it's just not there. Not sure what the deal with that is. Double Edge, on the other hand, the actual particle effects for it are awesome. It has the blood effect, has a little bit of red added to it. Cool. The actual animation is non-existent, and it does not feel good. It is not satisfying at all to use. Like a culling blade is satisfying to use. Every time I use it and get a kill, I scream at the top of my lungs. I feel that's what Valve's going for. In Dota 1, he had this huge windup like Xeno was talking about. It made it feel so impactful. Now, the particle effects in Dota 1 were garbage, so I guess they kind of went the other way with this. But I feel like he's just tickling their anus kind of thing, you know? He's not really putting any oomph into it. So I feel like they need to definitely add something to that to make it feel... It's 400 damage, you know? It doesn't feel like 400 damage to me. And then Return and Stampede look great, so no problems with those. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Centaur. Long time waiting for you, buddy. I love you. Can't wait till you get
Maybe
Ethereal
want to
Blade.
squeeze in some more talk about anuses while you're
No, I got as much as I
ranting?
could.
Okay, you did.
Yes. All right, so next is actually, you guys have probably seen a few videos on this. I believe LD and, I don't know, it was Luminous and B-Balling, as well as Purge made videos on the patch notes. So we're not going to go in depth because you can watch those anytime you want. I'm going to go over just a few, or we're going to go over a few that I feel like were very important. First, we'll start with Bane, who been seeing a little bit more action on the competitive scene. Well, Enfeeble decreased cooldown by 2 seconds, you know, fine. Bane can now wake himself up from Nightmare with a sub-ability, meaning you can dodge spells easily. Well, you could dodge spells before, but then you're stuck being Nightmare for 7 seconds or whatever it was. But now you can take yourself out of that. What do you guys think?
Well, being able to take yourself out of Nightmare, his versatility just went like through the roof compared to what he's got now, and he's already got a lot of it. So I think that's awesome. The other stuff, I don't really have any.
I
huge to
actually
say.
think this is a reasonably good buff to this hero to the point where I could easily see him being played more frequently. Enfeeble with a 10-second cooldown basically allows you to cast it twice without like the first one even going down. I mean, I think the actual time on the spell itself is like 20 seconds, so I mean that's pretty effective in and of itself in team fights, especially when you have hard carries running around.
Yeah, keep in mind, last patch, the last big patch, which was less than a month ago, he buffed, or Ice Frog buffed Enfeeble to go through BKB as well, so that's huge in addition to this.
Yeah, so that's already a pretty good kind of like anti, DPS sort of spell. And then with the addition, I feel like you have a lot of different dynamics in how you use this sleep now. So, I mean, you can get your teammates out of trouble, you can get yourself out of trouble much more easily, and while doing that, as you're saying, you're not taking yourself out of a freaking team fight for like the next 6 seconds, which is ridiculously long. Like, if you've ever slept yourself, like, while your team is having this epic team fight, it is the most painful 6 seconds of your entire life. Not really, but
Now,
it's pretty bad.
He can't turn it off when he casts it on teammates, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, good. That'd be rigged.
Yeah, but basically, it's kind of like you're sort of this int awesome caster dude with not a lot of health, but this allows you to have something to kind of get yourself out of a lot of trouble without getting a bunch of awesome items, which is always good. So, I like these changes, and I'm hoping we'll actually see Bane being played more.
All right, and next we have Centaur, which we briefly went over. His Great Fortitude has been replaced with a new skill. Now, if you guys don't, I'm going off of memory here. I believe Great Fortitude at the highest level gave you 45 strength. And to make up for that, because he still wants to be a beefy hero, his strength gain has gone up from 2.6 to 3.8. So I did the math, and if you're a level 25 Centaur, the amount of health you're losing from not having that previous ultimate is 285, which isn't very significant, honestly. Obviously, that's level 25, so you're going to be home for scoring a little bit earlier.
It's going to be significant earlier.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at 16 is different, but still, like, 3.8 is pretty huge.
That might be the highest in the game. I can't remember.
Well, the gain is still ridiculous. He's going to be fine. And I don't know. I like Stampede.
And it's been replaced by, like, a freaking awesome spell. So
yeah, I think the potential for Stampede is... There's so many cool things you're going to be able to do with it.
Yeah, so there's been some questions on how it works. So I'll briefly go over it in case you guys haven't seen the video yet. Essentially, when you hit Stampede, it makes everybody, including your allies... well, including yourself, I mean. I think it also affects their minions and whatnot, so like Necro units and stuff like that. Gives them max speed for up to 5 seconds, in which they have unit walking capabilities, and anytime they go through a unit... Now this is the question people had. Anytime they go through a unit, they get damaged by 200 base, and then 2 times Centaur strength. It's not based on anybody else's strength. So if you have like a dinky Crystal Maiden with max speed going through somebody, it's going to do the same amount of damage that a Centaur does. So you have all that damage as long as you go through them, and it's a really low cooldown and mana cost, 65 cooldown, 50 mana cost. So great for getaways from anywhere in the map. You can just pop it any time. You don't have any repercussion of not, the cooldown being so long or anything like that. Plus, it's great for initiation. In fact, I've been thinking maybe you don't get. I think you still do, but you question yourself whether you need to get Blink Dagger on this hero or not. It's questionable.
Well, I don't know. It's questionable so much more as just optional.
Right.
Because it still would be amazing. I mean, you could. It's like with Puck, being able to blink in and initiate with your silence, as opposed to stampeding in to initiate for your stomp. It's.
Well,
more
Puck's a
versatile
little different because, I mean, you also can use it with, escaping with phase shifting around and stuff. I mean, I think it's kind of
that's just what it makes me think of.
Slardar, where you have a big movement buff ability, but you still end up getting blink on that hero a lot.
So I will be playing him a lot this week, and
well, what do you think then? Are you going to get a blink?
Well, stay tuned to find out.
I think I still would. I'll try it though. But either way, I'm telling you, if I'm farmed enough, I'm gonna go for Ethereal Blade. It seems amazing on him. You Ethereal Blade, you walk through him with your ult, you stomp, and you Great Fortitude. How much damage did I say it was, Zeno? Like 1600?
1640 or something crazy like that.
It's ridiculous. He does so much burst damage.
Wow.
And he's so tanky. And the one thing that they added that wasn't the case when we used to play, his passive return. Well, now it returns a base amount of damage plus the amount of strength you have percentage-wise. But it works on towers. How amazing is that? It is amazing. You just sit in front of a tower, and it's so good, so good. Can't wait.
That's gnarly. He's gonna be a sick hero. I can't wait for the fails. I can't wait for the Stampede fails I'm gonna get.
Yeah, that should be good. All right, next we got Clockwerk, who. I think his biggest problem overall is that he's just so clunky. Like, his animation is just so slow. But regardless, he did get buffs here. His Aghanim Scepter, when you know how Aghanim Scepter used to pick it up and you can go to teammates with the hook. Now that's by default, which is good because then it won't be such a useless ult if you hit a teammate by accident. So the only thing Aghanim does...
awesome. It's going to make him be played never, still. I'm looking forward to never seeing him.
Well, it's definitely a huge improvement, but he's still clunky.
Yeah, but he's still trash, so whatever.
Yeah, well, so now the Aghanims, all it does, now I say all it does, it's still huge. It reduces the cooldown to 12. It previously was 15. So you can spam that over and over. In fact, last week it was in number 2 in top 10, and everybody loved that place. So he's fun to watch if people are good with him. It's just, he's very hard to play.
Yeah, but do you really think we'll ever see him in competitive even with this change? I mean...
He'd be like a occasional, not what's the word? Niche pick, I guess. Very seldom used.
Kind of like Pudge, only used by specific teams, specific people.
I mean, if his ult, it's still a counter to like Enigma. It goes through BKB. It's still amazing for that purpose. But yeah, I think you're right. Overall, if he was if his cast animations were reduced to a normal amount, he would be like one of the best heroes in the game. So it's kind of tough to, balance, but I feel like they should go down that route first before, tweaking anything else.
I think they struggle too with not wanting to. They don't. I don't think they're ready to change the game that, they're built on.
I have no idea what that means. Okay, so we're gonna just go like that.
Well, isn't he the exact same as in Dota?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, like, you're saying some of the stuff you need to rework on, and I don't think they're ready to rework some of their heroes.
It's not a rework. It's just a faster animation is what I'm saying.
Well,
I mean, all these changes are Dota
kind of
1.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true.
All right, anyway, we're going to move on to
Shut up!
Drow Ranger here. Her passive and ulti have been reworked slightly, and overall big buffs, though. So the True Shot aura now it's global, first and foremost, and it gives up to 26% of agility as damage to both you and any ranged units on your team, including like range creep, so it'll help for pushing to some regard as well. You can toggle that on and off. And then her ulti, which synergizes with that, before it, I believe it gave you 60 agility at level 3. Now it gives 40, but if no enemy hero is within 375 AoE of you, it will double. So 80 agility if nobody's within 375. So what this means is when you're farming, it's going to be great for you and your team. When you're in a fight, since she has 620, I think it's 625 attack range, you just have to position yourself properly so that nobody's next, up close to you. Then everybody still gets that huge agility boost. So, or damage boost, I should say. So this is a big buff to Drow. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to see her in competitive play, but definite buffs.
Yeah, it is a pretty significant change. I really like how they actually made the aura scale a little bit more with your agility. So it makes it pretty interesting to see like what kind of items you get to maybe not just help out yourself, but actually help out your team too, as far as just getting a whole bunch of agility. Not that you wouldn't normally do that with Drow anyways, but I'm kind of curious to see how just play out as far as the global aura goes.
So if you're supporting a Drow, you should get an Eagle Horn. Is what? That's what I think.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's your agility is damage, right? The aura.
It's Drow's agility.
Yeah, so it's only Drow. That applies to everyone.
Oh.
So she's the one
I
that
should
gets
really
the Eagle
read
song.
these things before the podcast.
Yeah, I think so. But regardless, pretty big buffs. Positioning is going to be enormous for her, though, because in team fights, if a Clockwerk comes in with his ult, then you're going to have half your agility taken away, essentially. So
what you're saying is Clockwerk is now the best counter in the entire game.
Well, I have to say, like, although it's really difficult to get off because it takes a million years, the cogs, they're 8 seconds long now. That is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. So I think he will get played, but just not, as much as people want him to be. Anyway, moving on to Meepo, who got a buff, a big buff.
Ridiculous buff.
Yeah, first
that
the
I'm
poof.
Gonna be pissed about.
The poof. Well, we don't see him played very often anyway. But poof was decreased by 2 seconds at all levels, and then the one that's more important, Aghanim Scepter, gives clones 100% stat sharing. Previously, it gave 30% overall. Now, the thing I have to mention about this is the first time I read this, I'm like, okay, that's really cool. You get Aghanims, it buffs all your Meepos. But the way this wording was, I was like, okay, so that means he's not going to get a 5th Meepo anymore. That would make sense. But no, he gets his 5th Meepo in addition to 100% stat sharing. So you don't have to micro micro isn't as important anymore because you don't have to worry about the guy getting low because they're all going to have basically the same HP essentially. So big buffs for Meepo that nobody plays because they're all terrible with him.
Well, besides them being terrible with him, he's even with that kind of buff, even in a player that's half decent with him, it makes Meepo much scarier in all aspects.
Yep. I think
he's gonna wipe through towers and shit in like a matter of moments.
You should play You should get really good with Meepo, Reaves.
That is never gonna happen ever, probably. Never. You know why? Because I won't be able to switch fast enough and activate poof on everybody. They need a poof all. If they add a poof all button, I'll be fine with that hero.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I forgot to mention this hero, Mirana. I was gonna skip by, but Moonlight Shadow decreased by 100 mana, which I always wondered why it costs so much mana to use Moonlight Shadow. So that's gonna be more useful, I think. And something that you'll see across all these changes mostly. They're just pushing for more aggressive style strategies, so it's gonna be awesome to watch. Anyway,
Xeno's awful quiet over there.
No, I mean I don't have anything to add to Meepo. I don't
Yeah.
think that's going to change anything other than maybe people that are good with Meepo are still going to be good with Meepo, and they'll just destroy, random pubs even more. But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't think that changes too much. I think overall, as far as this entire patch goes, it's basically just, hey, let's make things scale a little bit better and make some spells not as powerful early game, and that's pretty much the summary of like almost every single change they made. So.
Phoenix got like the 3rd rework in like 2 months. We're not going to go over that because it's not in Dota 2. Silencer, though. Big changes for Silencer. All right, let's go through each one. Global Silencer reduced for cooldown by 20 seconds. The duration has been increased to 4, 5, 6, which is pretty big.
Oh, God.
Base intelligence increased by 6, base damage reduced by 6. So essentially the same damage, but the intelligence is important, coming up soon with Glaives of Wisdom, of course. Curse of the Silent, I'm going to skip those because nobody's going to use that still. Unless it's against certain lineups. Int Steal from Last Word has gone back to Glaives of Wisdom. This is like the 80th time this has happened. I think it's probably going to be here to stay because of the skill we're going to be talking about very shortly. Glaives of Wisdom now, blah, blah, blah. Nothing important. Oh, okay, good. That's right. The Int Steal is 900 AoE as long as somebody dies within that range. But if you kill somebody and they're a million miles away, you will still get the Int Steal, which is good. Okay, so this is the thing that was changed big time. Last Word, which was originally a passive that silenced anybody that used a spell, essentially the biggest counter to any combo heroes such as Tiny, Storm Spirit, things like that, is now a single target ability. It's a debuff. It's actually very interesting. When active, it causes the person to become silenced and take damage after the 5-second period. Okay. Now that's if they don't cast a spell. If they do cast a spell, it will still take the damage and be silenced, but also will be disarmed. No, I'm sorry. I did that backwards. Forget what I just said. If they cast a spell, they'll be silenced and take damage after the duration. But if they do not do a spell, it's essentially forcing you to cast a spell. If they don't cast a spell, it'll take damage, silence, and be disarmed for 6 seconds, and the damage is 300.
Yeah,
Any comments?
Some of those high damage dealing heroes that have long cooldowns are going to be screwed by this spell.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing not to overlook is it does have 100 mana cost, so it's not really something that's like going to be all that spammable early game. I do like it. It synchronizes a little bit more with Curse and stuff like that.
That's a low
That's
mana
fun,
cost.
though.
What do you mean?
100 early in the game, though, it's not going to change anything. So, like, is that really going to be something that you're going to be,
This is more important for, like, team fights. So what I would do is I would cast this on a carry, okay? Think of it this way. You cast this on a carry. You cast your ultimate right after you cast this, so they can't cast a spell for 6 seconds. It causes them to be silenced for an additional 6 seconds and be disarmed for 6 seconds.
That's disgusting.
As long as they don't have BKB, it's ridiculous. So I think that's it's going to be an interesting change to him. I wonder if it's going to make any difference, though, as far as playability.
I think it will. Just by what you just said. I mean, you're essentially, if they don't have a BKB, you're taking their carry out of the entire team fight.
Yeah, and it's honestly changing his focus to more of like an anti-carry type thing than, before. I mean, his aura was still a pretty legitimately good passive spell. So, but that was more against heroes that would combo, a couple mainly burst damage heroes that would combo spells to do damage. So, it's kind of re-gearing the purpose of Silencer as far as team composition.
As
It's
amazing,
kind of the high DPS attacking heroes.
That last word, though, was an amazing skill. The problem with that is Silencer had to build tanky. He had to be in the middle of the action for it to actually work. So I feel like there's 2 ways to go down this road. You could either come out with like a strength hero that has that ability because it's ridiculously strong still, or you could just scrap it completely because it kind of takes away from the aggressive play because it's going to prevent people from doing combo moves and whatnot. So perhaps that was another thing they were looking into, and I think that's pretty smart, actually. Moving on, 2 more heroes we're going to go over. Sniper, lots of changes. Assassinate cast range gone up, which makes more of a difference early game, I think. Headshot procs. Every time it procs, it will go through evasion. And the bigger thing with that is the headshot percentage proc is 40 at all levels. So that's pretty big as opposed to 25. The damage has gone down from the early stages but gone up for later. Mini stun has gone up for all levels. It's a static amount. And shrapnel has gotten even better. It has ridiculous cast range, and it gives vision to the target area. So I think headshot, you still only get 1 level of this. but it's better overall. It does less damage, but you get more procs, and the mini stun's better. I think this is pretty big for Sniper.
I think it's big for like his damage and stuff, but he's still like it's going to be a struggle survivability wise. They still haven't done anything for that.
Well, a little bit with that, but I mean, Sniper is always going to be a hero that struggles with surviving in lanes if he gets ganked. I think the mini stun buff, headshot is a significantly awesome thing to put 1 point into, especially early in game. And I also think that finally giving shrapnel actual vision in the area, so you can like try and chase someone down or throw it over some trees and then get an assassinate off, is something they needed to do like all of like a million years ago. So I'm happy to see that. Also, if you notice, I mean, the shrapnel cast range is 1800. I mean, that's almost the range of his assassinate at level 6. So
it synergizes really well.
Yeah, so I think that's a good synergy, and overall, I really like all the changes they made with Sniper. As you know, a little bit of a Sniper fan.
Yeah, that was your first
hero.
hero.
Like once in Dota 2 because he's terrible. But
I made Xeno when he first started play Sniper over and over, and he was just awful with him. But it was just the only hero he wanted to play. But yeah, you're right. That does synergize well because like if you put the shrapnel over a cliff or whatnot, you have vision. You can ult because of the range is ridiculous. Plus, your headshot will now go. It will go through evasion. That includes like uphill, but of course it has to proc for that to happen. But regardless, it's still really good. And then the last hero we'll go over is Templar Assassin. I figured we'd bring this up. The most rigged thing about her, although actually there's quite a few now that I think about it. The track is pretty rigged. Psionic Trap, when you would, like, let's say you're chasing somebody, you place a trap and it slows them for 50%. Let's say you miss it. Not a big deal because you have another one in like 5 seconds. It's essentially rigged. If you're good with it, it's impossible to get away from a TA. Now, when you place it, it only slows for 30% at first, but it will regain the 50% overall over a 4-second period, I believe it is, for 5% each second. So, makes it a little less difficult to chase as TA.
yeah, it's basically buffing the trap portion of Psionic's trap and less completely rigged chasing. So I think that's a pretty awesome change.
Agreed.
I don't have much to say because I am just awful with that hero.
Alright, so moving on to items. We're just going to go over the boots and then 4 staff, and I think that's about it. So all the boots have been decreased in speed by 5, except for boots of travel. And the price of regular boots has gone down by 50 gold. Thoughts?
I don't really know what to make of this. I mean, I kind of wish I just was in their well, they probably don't even have staff meetings about this, but when they were discussing making this actual change, what their thought process was, because the only thing I can really see is that they're changing basically the move speed of every hero because everyone gets boots of some kind, and let's just ignore boots of travel for now. And the only real reason to do that is to make heroes slower relative to spells that have to traverse distances over time. And that's fine, but I would rather just have them speed up the spells and make the game look a little bit faster. Because I know even when Dota 2 first came out, that was a common viewer complaint, is that it just looks a little bit slow from a spectating point of view. So I'm not really, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it plays off. It's just 5 move speed. We'll see how it goes.
Your phone sickens me.
As somebody catches another mushroom. Congrats on that.
That's not a mushroom, Reeves.
Yeah, what is that?
That's getting hit.
No, it's
hit. That's
pipe.
Backwards.
The pipe? Really? Going down the green pipe?
Wait, wasn't it the same noise in original Mario?
What?
Trying
you
to
know
think
what? I'm
now.
done with you.
This
know. Relationship can't continue.
Oh, my gamer card. Somebody take it. Yeah, back
we already
to the
took
whole...
your Star Wars card after your last incident.
That wasn't... Nobody saw that. Some people saw that. It's okay. Get her some more views. She deserves it.
Anyways, I don't know what your guys' opinion are on the actual move speed stuff. We'll see how it plays out, I guess.
Well, I do think about how many times as a support I've been stuck at 460 gold and then die. So I'm happy about the price being lower just because it's more likely I'll be able to get boots, sooner. 50 gold doesn't seem like a lot, but it can be a lot for a support early game. It really can.
Yeah, that and the wards that were reduced last time, it's heaven for you guys.
Yeah, and it seems so. I mean, 50 gold doesn't, but it is. It's big for support.
It's 50 seconds of you standing there doing nothing.
Well, shut up. I try. But you're not, I mean, especially if you lane with SUNSfan ever, you're not going to get any last hits. So you
That's
are
right, because I hit
basically
every
just-
last hit,
Neither
right?
of you will get any last
Yeah.
Yeah, you are
Sure.
basically just waiting for the gold to buy boots. And if you don't get an assist or anything and the wards die, then people want you to buy wards. So any money help is great. So I'm really happy with the money change.
Yeah.
I can't think that they only reduced it because they reduced the speed. That seems silly. They got to have thought about.
Well, I think as far as the speed is concerned, like 5 isn't that big of a deal, obviously. I think it makes more of a difference when you buy items that are percentage based off your move speed, like a Yasha and whatnot. And then perhaps, like Xeno was kind of talking about, it makes other things seem faster, like projectiles, but more importantly, like Stampede, for example, it's max move speed. It makes it seem a little bit more impactful, perhaps. I mean, on a very minor scale, though, so... You know, we'll see how that actually works. I don't think anybody's really going to notice, to be honest, other than the gold
Yeah,
issue.
it might make team fights more exciting, but the traveling around the map and other stuff will possibly look slower. So we'll
Right.
see.
And boosted travel buffed, incidentally, as well. from that.
Yeah.
And last thing we'll go over is Force Staff has been reworked to include basically garbage items, which I think is a good thing. So instead of a Staff of Wizardry, Quarterstaff, and a 500 recipe, it is now a Staff of Wizardry, a Ring of Regeneration, and then 1,000 gold recipe. So heroes like Invoker, Windrunner will not like to pick this up as often. I'm sure they still will, though, because it's still an amazing item. It'll basically give 10 intelligence, 3 regeneration, and then have the same exact effects from before. What do you guys think? The item's too good still. I mean, honestly, I think this is a great plan.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, there's a few heroes where the removal of attack speed and damage really matters, and that, you know, mainly being heroes like Windrunner, Invoker. For the most part, I don't really think that matters too much. The one kind of nice thing is for like random support heroes that aren't going to be able to afford it right away. In the laning phase, you can still pick up the Ring of Regen, and that's still a pretty helpful item to have. And, you know, maybe you're not going for like a mech or something like that, and you still want to get that item. So I think that's kind of cool. You can sort of store that, help out in the laning phase, and then eventually, you know, 60 minutes in, you can finally afford that Force Staff. So
Reeves,
I
you can
think
get more
this
Force
is all
Staffs.
just part of a conspiracy to lower everything's price by 50.
Yeah, that's
what it
100
is.
gold you just saved there with the Force Staff and boots.
Yeah, 4-staff, boots, wards. I mean, come on.
Ice Fog's
If
trying to
anything,
make you
these
buy
are
that.
yeah. Well, these are updates for the supports. That's what it is. But no, like you said, it's still great. Like those heroes that you like might not want it as much. It's still like Invoker to put you closer to, get a couple more snaps off. With Windrunner, it boosts you forward so that you can hit your ridiculously long shackle on somebody. That's what I use it for more than anything else.
So you don't hit your shackles.
Well, I'm definitely not going to hit them if I don't have the Force Staff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't think it's going to affect who buys it that much. But I don't have issue with the change.
Yeah,
either.
okay, it's not going to affect them buying it, I agree, but it'll punish them indirectly, or directly, depending on which way you want to look at it, by the stats gain that they get, which is good.
That's true.
Which is a good thing, because everybody getting Force Staff, and I think it shouldn't be that way. But perhaps this is something that they'll be revisiting down the road once they see the effects and whatnot of what's going to happen here. Other than that, that's essentially it. So big patch for balance-wise, at least, and then Centaur,
Exciting
of course.
patch.
Yeah. So any last words from either of you before we bid everyone adieu? That
yes, there better be pumpkins tomorrow, because if there aren't pumpkins tomorrow, it kind of defeats the purpose when like the next patch is like after freaking Halloween. Like, come on. At this point, Valve,
we
this
were
is
talking about that a
unacceptable.
little bit. It seems a little odd to do even this close to Halloween. So we were talking about it. They're probably going to extend it. We're guessing past
Nah,
Thanksgiving,
quite
just because.
frankly, I'm assuming it's coming out tomorrow, and
Yeah,
that's the story.
so when people watch this, it's going to be tomorrow for them, so they might already be
Indeed.
playing on the Halloween patch. So if that's the case, then disregard this entire ending.
Yes. I did not mean to be critical when you were actually doing the things that I wanted you to do.
Yeah, good
Anyway.
job, maybe, Valve. Maybe great
Indeed.
job.
I'm more excited
maybe.
for the winter version, not going to lie, but that's just me. Ice is awesome.
Snow.
Snow, like presents, like piled on the ground randomly, and you just run over there, super happy. But you can't
Santa
really do
Roshan,
anything.
oh my goodness, I can't wait. Like OMG.
Oh my god.
OMG. He'll be too cuddly to kill at the end of the day, you know?
Guys, what do you want me to kill for you?
That was okay. We're gonna end it right there.
Doop-a-doop-a-doo.
Thanks for watching. Until next week, guys. Love you long time.